Listen, Dion. That's unusual. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Pastor Kyle, for saying that this is unusual. It's still confusing that less is more for her. And so it really was good to hear him kind of make sense to me about what's going on.
You guys are going to be moving.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You already know what time it is. You ain't got the minerals, baby. Are you mad? Are you mad? Are you lean? Listen, let's get into the video. We're talking about Married at First Sight. Yeah. No. Little Black Book, you know what time it is. Alright, let's get into the video, baby. So yeah, obviously episode 6 was a lot of interesting things that happened. I think I kind of really focused as well a lot on Amber and Matt this time, because I think they had some interesting conversation as well. It was quite interesting to see their dynamics going on. I think the part that I really picked up with Amber and Matt was really looking at the area where there is abandonment. And for Amber, because Amber obviously has stated that, her mum had previously left her when she was young. That leaves her with abandonment issues. And so whenever she feels like someone is particularly leaving or swaying to leave, or, there feels like there's an intention to leave her, she feels a certain way about it. And she tries to either close the distance, or she kind of goes into, withdrawal.
Process.
In a marriage, you have two people. You both have to contribute to it.
Yeah.
And I know that for you, that reciprocation is really important.
It's key. Yeah. I'm very cautious falling in love because of my abandonment and my rejection issues, where my mom left when I was 7. And right now, I'm feeling like I could definitely fall in love with Matt. But I'm afraid that my level of care for him is not going to be the same level that he feels for me. And I just really want us to live happily ever after.
And so it was interesting to see obviously her particular behaviour against obviously Matt as well. What I would say is obviously we definitely know that Amber feels Matt more. I think because when I was seeing them sitting on the sofa, I seen the way she stroked his leg and tried to get his. I think she stroked his arm as well. But he doesn't reply with the same. The same energy. Not saying that he wasn't feeling it, but he doesn't reply with the same energy. Maybe because he's not that way or not that way inclined. But for me, I kind of saw, and Pastor Cal even spoke on it and said, obviously, you're really falling for this guy. She said, yeah, she's falling for him. So I think, for me, just watching that is quite interesting. And obviously, just watching that because also Matt himself, I believe, also has some hidden traces of, I don't want to say abandonment, but fear of it not working out. And that comes from the fact that, his parents, got married and divorced after 30 years, I believe it was. And I think for him in his head...
The world of you. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And here's how I look at it.
That kind of scares me.
Why?
I don't know.
Tell me why. No, I want to know why.
I don't know. I just hope that it doesn't change.
Do you feel like you're a disappointer?
That's kind of what I'm worried about, I hope that one day she doesn't wake up.
He's thinking, how can you divorce after so long? And he mentioned this with Pascal. He said, obviously, the one thing that makes him fearful is that, either his or hers or their feelings will change. I think what's playing through Matt's head at the moment that is struggling for him to really commit, it's not just a job. I think it's more of a case of, will this last? And I think it started to produce some second thoughts in his head. And the fact is, because he hasn't fallen as quickly as Amber also, I think in his head, he's like, will this work? And if this won't work, I got to think about options in terms of where do I go.
That we've had to this point.
In my mind, it's kind of like man's responsibility, paying for stuff. It's just kind of where I'm just raised, whatever. Now,
But I'm gonna tell you, that's one of the toughest things about just being married. Whether it's a traditional marriage or married at first sight, one of the toughest things is yielding your independence.
Yeah.
And realize
next. Hence why he considered the option abroad. And when obviously Amber even brought up the fact that she can support them both, he wasn't happy with it. Why? Because he's not fully committed to that relationship as of yet. And when I say committed, I really mean that he's got a backstop ready, just in case. And whenever you have a backstop ready, you can't fully be committed to something. It just won't work. So yeah, for me watching them two, I think it's been quite interesting just to see how both of them are reacting. I think there was a scene where he went to his own bathroom. I think personally, because he's been alone for so long or traveling so long, I think he's used to having his own space. It takes time to get used to being in someone else's space and not feeling like you're crowding them. And obviously for her, she felt like he was pulling away from her, which is so interesting because obviously, like I said, this is the way we perceive things is always different, right? The way we perceive things can be unique to our experiences, and I think relationship in general can take something from this, which is, you know what? Sometimes you got to slow down, and just take a back stop before you comment or before you while out on a particular scenario.
Utilize this second bathroom just to, might as well. We don't have 2 sinks, so you can use two bathrooms.
Are you my roommate or are you my husband?
I'm your husband, and we're
such as the one that Amber wilded out on, because actually it wasn't that deep. But you know what I loved is the fact that they did eventually communicate that, and she apologized well and said, obviously, look, this is how I was feeling. And I think, you know what, it's from that point onwards that there needs to be honest communication and talking, where you're stating, oh look, do you know what, like, look, this is how I feel, and when you do this is how it makes me feel. And I feel like, this is where Pastor Cal and Dems can actually really get to grips with given psychology. And I think the show doesn't have to be all about drama. The show could really focus on the psychology of helping people, and we would learn so much more, and we'd watch it just as much, because the whole point is we're all trying to learn how to be better versions of ourselves, rather than, I feel like sometimes they're forcing drama. And I'll talk about it with the Iris and Keith situation. Like, there was a scenario where the scene that happened, and I said they forced that. They told her to do that. There's no way she was doing that. Do you get me? But yeah, so it was interesting watching Amber and Matt. Even when they were talking about his minimalistic stuff, again,
Light. So I mean, basically, all I have to contribute to the new place is me and my clothes.
Matt's transient lifestyle definitely worries me. Seeing Matt's place, it's really hard to learn about him. I mean, it doesn't scare me that Matt has such little stuff. It's just more of the actions behind having such little stuff. The fact
it's creating that impression that he could potentially be up and leaving at any time. And I mean, to be honest, yeah, obviously he hasn't got. It wasn't gonna. When was he gonna sort out the routes? He was starting to sort it out now, so there's no way his apartment's gonna be sorted out. So I think it's more of a case for me looking at what he's saying, what he's doing with Amber, and at the moment he's showing some degree of loyalty. But what he said to Pastor Carl just kind of made me think this guy is double thinking about things. He potentially will move, and all because of fear. Or because he's scared that, you know what, I feel like, this thing that happened with my mum and dad could potentially happen with me, and I'm trying to avoid that. And I feel like that's what's plaguing him at the moment. So yeah, that's something to look into. And obviously as well, I think obviously mentioning with James and Elizabeth. Now, they're starting to grow on me, James and Elizabeth. I think they're very candid. Very open, and then interesting as well. Just a thing about James and Elizabeth and Amber and Matt. The two couples have actually had sex. It's quite interesting how they sit on the sofa, because the two black couples, maybe it's just might be a black thing, I'm not sure, who haven't had sex yet, seem to be, there's a gap between them when they're sitting. Now I think Donna and Greg were quite close, if I remember correctly. Can't remember 100%. They were a little bit close. So that may null and void what I'm saying. And it may show that there's a bit more intimacy there, but definitely with even with Iris and Keith, although they're quite intimate, touchy-feely when we were seeing them in other episodes on the sofa when they're talking to Pastor Cal, they're very much isolated. Now I don't know if that's an intimacy problem, or rather because they're talking to Pastor Cal, they wanted a space for themselves to express themselves, and to really express how they feel as an individual. And it may also stem from the fact that obviously as well they have their own identities within their relationship that at the moment they're guarding and not merging together. So though we're seeing the open communication, we're seeing the talking, we're seeing lots of great stuff from them, there is still a lack of trust, which was highlighted with the comment that that Iris made about that he's still a stranger. And
very quick path, and it's scary because I'm still thinking he's a stranger. Like in the back of my head, like I just met this guy only a few weeks ago.
I want you to rewire your thinking.
Okay.
Because, yeah, we talk about marrying a stranger, but that was on the wedding day, okay? You guys have spent a week and a half together. He's not a stranger anymore. You don't know everything about him, but he's definitely not a stranger.
My husband.
Pascal picked up on it. Maybe that's part of the reason why they are separated on the couch, is to give themselves, keep themselves identity to themselves. Maybe that's something that's playing on their mind, I'm not sure. But I noticed and I picked it up. But going back to James and Elizabeth, You can see that even when she sat down the first time, she was right next to him. She reshuffled to speak to Pascal about her particular situation, but they reshuffled again and they were right in each other's arms. Now, that is what I'm talking about, sex and what happens. Sex creates this intimacy bond. It creates this vulnerability. Why? Because I'm stepping into your space. And the reason why I feel like maybe, Keith and Iris and Donna and Greg, maybe potentially there might have been gap between themselves, is because they've not allowed themselves to be vulnerable on that level. When you have sex with somebody, your walls are coming down. Your physical walls are coming down. So you are allowing someone into your personal space. Therefore, from that moment onwards, you don't feel as uncomfortable with that person being in your space, providing obviously what happens after. So I can see that obviously with James and Elizabeth, because they've been having sex regularly, obviously, and then, they've broken down those walls. They're happy to be in each other's space. They're happy to be in each other's arms. They're happy to be physical and touchy-feely because they've explored each other already on that level, and so there's nothing to hide on that.
Go right, so you overanalyze and you overreact, but you have to recognize what's happening and just correct. I don't believe all conflict is bad, but I have to argue to solve the problem. And take that problem, whatever it is, make it objective. Let's deal with that, not with each other.
I'm not self-absorbed, I promise. I'm not.
No, you're not. I'm figuring that out.
Okay, great. Now, here's one exercise I want you guys to do. It's called naked moments.
I like this one.
Don't smile. Don't smile.
I think Pastor Carl mentioned about you two need to get naked together. Now, admittedly, when he said that, even I thought, is he talking about naked painting? As in they should get naked and paint. But I was like, I wasn't sure what you're saying. But obviously the way they both said that obviously you get naked, and the way especially Elizabeth got excited, is again that gear, like I said, that gearing towards the sexual side of things. I just want to make sure that they are not focused on that. But that's a side thing. I mentioned that in the last episode. I don't want to go over that too much. What I really want to focus on with them is number one, she's into juju. I don't know what the fuck was going on. Her using sage and just blessing the household. That's why the Bible says, listen, do not be unequally unyoked, because this kind of stuff happens, bro. You get with somebody and you don't know they feel this way about spiritualism, and you find yourself doing things you don't want to do, being in places you don't want to be in. Now, obviously, James is a go with the flow kind of guy. I've seen that. It's interesting, obviously, watching him because he's surrendering his dominance or his way of doing things for her. Although, interesting enough, on the first episode, he was making it seem as if he was going to have control over everything and that he couldn't give up the reins. But he's actually taken a lot of a back seat in terms of, the relationship with Elizabeth. He's allowed her to be herself. He's allowed her to also really explore her creative side and be free with it. And I think even when he went to her house, I think it was interesting to see the way she lived, and he was like, maybe not for me, but do you know what? It's you. And I appreciate the fact that it's you. And I think we can all learn from that, about accepting each other in a relationship for them. There are things that they've got strengths on, weakness on. I just got to love you for you. And I think it's quite great to see them to showcase that in their imperfection, which is...
It makes no difference how many arguments you have as long as you resolve each and every one of them and learn from them and get better.
I really try.
I think he said, mention this, he said, you can have as many arguments as you want so long as you're resolving each one. And I think for a lot of us in relationships especially, resolving issues are probably one of the hardest things you can do. Why? Because both people are jostling for power. I've always said relationships are power struggles. What is a power? The power is in the sense of I want to get my way, or I want you to see my way of things, or I want you to be on my side. I want you to believe what I'm saying. And it becomes very difficult to even compromise. It becomes very difficult if you're wrong, to admit you're wrong and actually go to the other person's side if you've been fighting for your side for so strong. So I think when he mentioned that, I was kind of just intuitive, just listening and thinking to myself, he's absolutely right. A relationship can have as many problems as it wants, but so long as it solves each individual one, it stands the test of time. The problem is in relationships is we don't solve the problems, and that's just speaking to myself. I need to even go and sort out certain things myself. But we don't solve each problem as it comes. What we're trying to do is trying to avoid pain and avoid a hard conversation. But really and truly, we should be embracing these things and actually having that hard conversation so that we can actually step forward past that point. It may be difficult at that particular conjunction. It may be difficult at that point. But what it does allow for us to do is actually say, do you know what? I now know you in this area and I respect it. Or I like it, or I don't like it. Like, well, how do we move forward from this? I think having an open, honest conversation is allowed and it's needed, and sometimes it gets ugly.
You are so fancy.
I barely use this.
What is this called? The chair railing?
What's it called? A little chair rail? You know?
Oh, the ceiling.
So yeah, this is the kitchen.
Oh, you got 2 ovens.
Two
You use 2 ovens?
I sometimes do, you know what I'm saying?
Use 2 ovens for?
I do a little something.
Greg's house is really nice. It's very clean.
So I have a screen porch and a deck. And so
Screen.
I don't think there's any man that wouldn't want to spoil a girl. There's not one man that wouldn't want to pay for all the dates. There's not one man that probably wouldn't want to buy his girl lavish, expensive stuff, buy the house she wants, buy the ring she wants, give her the wedding she wants, provide for her in ways that he wishes he could. But a lot of us are not in that financial situation, and I think sometimes it becomes very difficult. I think you want to provide that you want to be able to provide that, but you're not able to financially, and I think that's where compromise, that's where understanding comes in, that's where we have to play our role and say, listen, stay in your blood clot lane. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. But what I saw was obviously Dionna's reaction to the house. Now, he mentioned he had a 4-bedroom house which he built, but the way she reacted to the house let me know that, you know how excited she was. Bruv, but my girl was excited, cuz. My girl was like thinking to myself, raw, this the house. Not because it's big, but because of the fact of what was in it, how it's laid out, how neat it is. Like, it's ready for her to move in. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, so I was just like looking at it, I was like, rah, like I want to be able to do that. God, let this YouTube bank and let the money flow so that I can do that for my future wife, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, and I pray that I never flaunt it. Another thing as well, like, if I get to a point where I'm able to buy my woman so many stuff, I pray it's not a thing that I flaunt it so that other men feel insecure about themselves or feel a certain way. I feel like sometimes we have that attitude where we make it and then we want to throw it in, almost like you want to show everybody off that you can do it. And like I pray that there's a humility that's there that's like, do you know what? I don't need to show everybody I can do that. It's between me and you. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to unsettle anybody or make anyone feel like that's what you should be doing. No. Everyone's got their grace to do what they're supposed to do. And God gives a measure of that grace to each individual person. And what they do with it, God willing, they can provide that kind of lifestyle if they wanted to. But yeah, I don't want to be that kind of person. Do you know what I mean?
you are beautiful. You do have long eyelashes. Love it. You look beautiful.
Okay. When there's too much, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with them.
What is that about, Deanna?
So when he does like multiple ones back to back,
Yeah.
again, like it's overload.
Girl, you're overthinking. You know how many people want compliments? Listen.
It's been interesting as well, and good to hear why she doesn't. It would have been interesting. Pascal obviously said, you know, why don't you want the compliments? Like, you should be lucky to have the compliments. And I was like, yeah, I get it. What you're saying, and I believe what you say, Pascal. But it would have been interesting actually to break down the psychology of it. Why are we not doing this? Why is the show not? Why is the show not showing that? Why is the show not like explaining? Okay, so why is it that you don't like compliments? It's been 10 years, okay, but that's probably not it. What it really is the fact that you don't feel worthy of these compliments. What it really is that you don't feel like these compliments are too much for you because of the way you value yourself and the way you see yourself in his eyes, and the way you see yourself and the way you perceive the way you value yourself. That's what's causing you to not accept the compliment. I know, because I don't accept compliments too tough. I'll say, yeah, thank you, but I always try to bring a compliment back to another person. Why? Because as much as I like the compliment, you know, number one, I don't want another person to feel out of place. And number two, it's almost like I don't always think that I'm doing a great job. Do you know what I mean? I don't always, if I'm doing a great job, I'm like, yeah, it's an okay job I did. I just did my job. But other people are like, no, you did an amazing job. I'm like, no, I just did my job. And because, again, I put a value on what I do, and I look at it from a negative perspective rather than a positive one. Do you get what I'm saying? So when people say to me, oh, like, you got 12k subscribers, I'm like, yeah, it's normal. Yeah, 12k, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm playing it down. But it's not humility. You know what I'm saying? It's not humility. To play it down like that, it's not humility. It comes from a place of the fact that you don't value what you do, and you don't understand the value of what you're doing. And you don't place that importance and value on what you're doing. And you're scared to big yourself up because you think it's humble. It's not. It is coming from a place of fear. That if you, I don't want to say it's coming from a place of fear. It comes from a place of experience as well. Maybe you've been told that, you know what, like like you boast or you're arrogant or something like that, or you might have heard something like that which has made you think in a certain way that I shouldn't behave in that way. I shouldn't, celebrate my success. Do you know what I mean? And so I think to myself, sometimes I look at it and go, bruv, like, it would have been good to just hear the psychology behind why Donna Deanna doesn't accept compliments, and actually explain that to him, to Greg, so he can understand as well. Because this will continue. So yeah, I think obviously just kind of finishing it off with Keith and Iris. How long we got? A minute. Damn.
Just so, okay. Okay. Keith, we have an issue.
What's the
There's
issue?
only 3 in here.
That was the rest of the box.
That's the whole point.
Wow.
For me seeing a whole empty box to 3 is like, damn, was he just like a nymphomaniac up to the wedding day? I don't know.
It's the fact that, like I said, I felt like the show pushed a narrative that didn't need to be pushed. And I know a lot of you comment down below, why are you always on that Iris's case? The reason why I'm on her case is because she keeps pushing this virgin narrative, and it's annoying. And I'm sure it's a show that's pushing her to say more of it than she really needs to, because when I saw last episode, I was just like, why did, like, for instance, I know she's inquisitive, but it's hella rude to go through people's stuff the way she's going through it. Like, and the thing is, she's got a bit of an attitude like that. Do you know what I mean? A bit of an air of arrogance. And I've said this from earlier. She reminds me of Aunt Viv, but with more arrogance. And it's like really annoying to see her behaving that way. That's the reason I'm on her case. You know, the same way that I would say that the Matt situation, the fact that he's thinking about leaving when you know you got a wife, it's bastardry. Like, you're out of fear, you're doing stupid stuff. But with Iris, I just feel like at the moment, like the way they're portraying her this is finishing her. Like, why is she going for the drawer and then finding condoms and then getting upset about it? Why are you upset? Well, why are you upset? The guy already told you I'm going to be patient and wait. You didn't have sex on the honeymoon. Do you think it's going to change how he's going to behave? Now you're back home. No. He's going to be the exact same way. He would have pressured you on the honeymoon if he was going to do that. So why are you feeling a certain way because you saw condoms in the drawer? But you know that, fam, he's had sex in the past. You discussed it. You threw it in his face not long ago. I say that was he's had multiple partners. You know this already, so why are you stressing about this? So either she's stressing about this and she's a control freak, and there's some level of insecurity there, or the show pushed her to have this argument to put a bit more drama in the show, and it's unnecessary. Because even the way Keith was reacting, I was like, either he's reacting because, you know what, he thinks this is stupid and he's not going to react loudly about it, or 2, fam, they engineered this and he doesn't know how to act. Simple as, because he didn't do anything. Like, she said about the condom thing and it's annoying us to think about your past. What? You already knew how the past. Like, come on, man. Like, you don't slip that. You moved that, man. Come on, man. There's a level of uncomfortability there. It's not 100% comfortable. And I'm wondering if it's not necessarily her attitude or anything like that. I wonder if it's just, like I said, the intimacy levels in terms of physicality, whether it's at the level he feels comfortable at the moment. Maybe he also feels like, you know what, it's not going the way he wants to go in terms of speed that he's used to. Maybe that's also causing a bit of nervousness and a bit of anxiety on that level. I don't officially know, but it's just interesting that because I'm watching it and I'm going, he's rubbing his hands like I say rubbing his hand, but it's like almost like it's like this. And it's like you're nervous.
We do.
Do you really? Yes. I mean, so don't let that become a thing. The more you communicate, you'll feel yourself drawn to one another.
You're a bit anxious, you know what I'm saying? You're on edge. So I was like looking at it, I was like, And there's space between them as well. I was like, And I think like for Iris especially as well, it's a lot of unknown territory, obviously, because like I said, you know, it's a marriage. I say that it's for Iris, it's for both of them. Unknown territory, because it's known territory for Keith in the sense of dating, living with a partner. I believe you mentioned that he is. All that stuff is all equatable, but obviously when it comes to this relationship and sex, obviously Iris is a novice. She hasn't got that experience, and so I guess that may be the difficult waters to kind of navigate and actually try to actually, I guess, you know, because you don't have the knowledge of something, right? It makes it a little bit. Sometimes it makes it you're having to learn things on the go, and that can be a little bit frustrating for the person receiving. That can be frustrating for you personally as well, because you want to get it right now. But I feel like obviously with Iris, obviously some of the things that she does, I'm like, bro, like relax. Like even when I said last episode, I think it was last episode before that, she was talking about Deanna and why she doesn't accept compliments. But it's the way she delivered the message. She delivered it in a way that, like, Deanna, you should accept the compliments, and it's like, again, that arrogance again, like, you know, to tell people what to do. Like, stop telling people what to do. Like I told you that she did the same thing to Keith. And Keith told her, listen, I'm not a kid, like, stop telling me what to do, like, do you know what I mean? This was happening on a boat. And I said, this is going to happen more, because that's what she's built with. That's what she's built with. So she's going to continue doing that. And we're going to find some interesting things happening probably down the line, whether how much Keith can take in terms of being told what to do. So yeah, guys, that's Married at First Sight review. Let us know your thoughts below. Let us know what you thought as well. And yeah, comment, man, share, subscribe. Yeah, let's have a conversation down below. I really appreciate y'all. Little Blackbirds, really know what time it is. Appreciate y'all.